Takuta Ferris was on Mata with Mihingarangi Forbes today. I went through and I listed off about 9 clips. We would have watched the whole 47 minutes if we'd done that. So go and watch it for yourself. I've pulled a few things out. The conversation started with them talking about the root cause of this fallout. What is the root cause of this fallout? What's going on? And Takuta said really clearly, I can tell you what it was. It was a hui on October the 9th that Takuta, well, actually, I think it was Mari Meno Kapakingi called it for just the MPs. So the 6 MPs were going to get together and nut things out. And then after a small while, another person was added, another person was added, and then all of a sudden, he doesn't mention the number, but I can see, 10, 15 people there. And so it wasn't just the MPs. And the end of the hui, and I think he said it was Maria Mena, I could be wrong with that, but one of the MPs asked for a ceasefire, said to everybody, can we have a ceasefire? And everybody agreed to it until it got to JT, which is why I said at the start, if this is 100% accurate as Takuta says, then I can't see how there can be a Te Pāti Māori party reunited with JT still there. If this is 100% accurate. And I'm going to try and find out if it is or isn't, but let's have a listen to that. So we're coming up to the point where he's talking about at the hui, we were being asked for a ceasefire.
But that hui is the hui where at the end, Kitty had asked for a ceasefire. And after a bit of discussion, it was going around the room. She had called us all to say, will you agree to a ceasefire? Will you agree? Will you agree? So we were doing that. And happily or reluctantly, it was being agreed all the way around the room until it got to JT over here. And instead of agreeing to it, JT said, amongst other things, he did say that I will get utu for my daughter and I will get it from those Kapakingi boys and their media company. Now, whatever that means, I don't know, but, I know that there's a problem here between JT and Maria Meno and the Kapakingi boys, Eru, and the fallout from Toitu and all of that. And so, 3 hours into a hui of this nature, I'm just like, so I intervened in that, and obviously Maria Meno had leapt to the defence of her whānau, and that hui was quickly coming to a negative conclusion. And as I reflect on that, would Whatarangi Winiata, president of the Māori Party, had chosen those words on that night? What would have happened if he had have just agreed to the ceasefire and everyone agreed? What would the next move have been? Well, we'll never know because that didn't happen. That hui imploded. I stood up and said, well, buggy is, and walked out. Actually, not after saying to JT, the easiest way through all of this is you put all of your stuff on the table, and Meno, you put all of your stuff on the table, and we'll all work it out. Everyone will know. Now, I've asked for that from this whole group more than 3 times. Maybe 3 or 4 times. Never got it.
So there you go.
Wow.
Yeah. And I saw someone in the comments saying, yep, he said that, Pat. Sometimes what's really important, it was Kiri, it was Rawiri's wife and JT's daughter who called for a ceasefire. Gotcha. That was the Kiri. Yeah, it was Kiri. Okay, so it was Rawiri's wife. If that was said as it was said in that moment, then it feels to me, I'm a fairly optimistic person. I would never say never, but I don't know how a party of unity comes back from that myself. And there are people in the chat who have said that's what was said. If they were in the room when it happens, it would be good to know. Or if this is just, because the other thing is we're hearing Takuta say this now. Is that what was said? Well, what I'd like to do is what responsible people should do who are broadcasting this to people is check and validate, validate it. And so I'll do some work on that tomorrow and see if we can find out if that's what was said. But anyway, Chewie, that's the first time you've heard this. Happy to hear your thoughts around it. I've got 4 other clips to play.
I'm going to say just really quickly, just on the usage of the word utu, like it can mean a variety of things, like a correcting the balance, and at one point, yes, it can mean revenge, but yeah, it I don't want to get hung up on the meaning of the word, but yeah, it definitely seems that it's used in the way of like, oh yeah, cool, everybody's working through this, and then someone slams on the fucking brakes. And look, it's reinforcing my own bias here that I don't like JT. So it is, I'm finding it very easy to believe that this is where the roadblock is. And I don't know how this is why there is a really clear break from the leadership at the Māori Party and everybody else.
Yeah. People in the chat are saying Takuta lost their respect with that Instagram post.
Yeah,
that is a clip.
That's fair.
But there is a clip that I've got time coded for that. It's not one of the clips I'm going to show. I'll leave that to you, Chewie. If we get to the end of my other 4 clips and we want to play that one, I'm happy to scroll back to it, because he does acknowledge it, and he does acknowledge that there were some mistakes there, but he also says some themes around it are okay as well. I'm paraphrasing. So we could look at that at the end if we wanted to. Let's go to the next clip. And this clip flows on from the conversation we just heard, talking about Takuta's relationship with the co-leaders, and he kind of goes, seems fine, and then they go into a part where he talks about his relationship with JT, and that's just what we're going to watch right now.
What's your relationship like with the president, John Tamihere?
Pretty open, pretty frank. I mean, I got respect for JT and what he does. I understand myself, how I'm raised, my professional life, what I deem, principled activity and all of that. I've worked in education and senior leadership in education for 14, 15 years. I've maintained my upbringing, our Te Māori roots and all of that. It's all a dance and everything. I know everyone has to do one somewhere. So I've got respect for JT in that regard. Where we are now, I think JT has made some very, very poor, selfish decisions that's led us to where we are now, and those decisions are actually diminishing the faith, belief, ability of our people to participate, the hope amongst our people. All of these things are being jeopardized for quite self-centered reasons, in my view.
Selfish how?
Well, if I take us back to that night of that hui, JT could have set aside his desire for utu for his daughter, and he could have put in front what the people need. And we all knew, we've all known for the last couple of years, but even more so in the last few months, that we have to be moving powerfully into 2026. And so in my view, JT just decided to give that all away to pursue utu.
There you go. Now, someone in the chat will correct us all here. I could have looked it up. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but his daughter, Kiri, or maybe even he, owns some of the IP to Toitu Te Tiriti, whether it's the name or something like that. And so whatever the utu is for his daughter or those Kapakingi boys, it's all tied up in Toitu Te Tiriti and what that actually means. I don't know, but I know there is a connection between the Tamiheres and Toitu Te Tiriti when it comes to a legal sense, like an ownership of some of it. So yeah, but that's, yeah. So what Takuta is saying is egos have gotten in the way, and person could have been humble and put his own desires second and put the necessity of the party first, but that didn't happen. Again, that's what Takuta said. Now, I've spoken to JT a couple of times. He doesn't want to come on with us. He's got no interest. He says no every time, so we're not going to get him. But, you know, he goes on with Bomber. Maybe Bomber will get a chance to talk to him and flesh it out a bit. Yeah, so Chewie, thoughts, reactions to that bit?
It's made me reflect on Hannah's statement from a few days ago, that she wishes everybody would there's wrongs on all sides and people should get together. look, I'm happy at this point to say that Hannah is the heart and soul of that party. And if she doesn't know what way to fall at the moment, how are there supporters that clearly rallied around her? How are they going to take this? And I think if Hannah does reach a decision, stay or go, that's going to be really telling.
Yeah, and our understanding is Hannah is going back this weekend to have hui with her people, and her people, her iwi, her leadership group within her circle will decide what she does. And that's happening this weekend. And does that mean stay with Te Pāti Māori? Does that mean become independent? Does that mean go to a different political party? We have, well, I'm saying we because we've had a few kind of ideas come in that me and Chewie know about, but we don't have any knowledge on any of those options. It could be any of them. I mean, it could even be, depending on how this feels, it could even be done with politics. Like if this has come off to a young wahine as this is all shit and this is not what I want to do with my life, it could be the end of it.
But why is someone so young, so new to this, being the only one to take the correct steps here?
Being the adult in the room.
She is the adult in the room, the only one that's not letting her own ego derive direction here. Oh, man. This is so disappointing.
Okay, well, let's keep going and I'll let you get disappointed some more. Conversation here, and I can't remember exactly what the lineup is because I've just written Debbie on JT and Takuta on Eru. And I think, I do remember what this is. Takuta is about to say, this is the piece I'm thinking of, it's quite cutting. Because Takuta is about to say, well, I don't need JT. If Debbie does, so be it. And Takuta identifies Eru as the kind of person, I'm pretty sure he doesn't say the person, that needs to be leading this movement because like 70% of the million Māori in New Zealand are under 40. And it's like, it's a really interesting perspective. It's like it's time to hand the torch on, is what he's saying.
Te Ngāre Wapeka says that he's the man, JT's the man to take Aotearoa to Hawaii ki hou. How whakaro ki tērā?
Oh, yeah, I get what Debbie says. She said that a number of times. And for me, I don't need JT. I'm clever enough to work out anything. So if Debbie needs JT, can't do it without him, well then that's her setup. But I don't believe that young Māori of my generation actually need someone to come and do that for us. And if you were to ask me, because the drive of Te Pāti Māori is to capture the rangatahi. Our 700,000 of our 1 million people who are under 40. 500,000 of them are under 25. We have to appeal to...
That's like, just stop and think about that. Half of all Māori in New Zealand, half are under 25. Half. So...
It's crazy.
But you think about that with the representation for that percentage of Māori, and there's no shade, obviously, within Māoridom, obviously, matua and senior gets respected massively. But if the leadership's all grey-haired and older, you can kind of understand how maybe some young, just forget it's even Māori, young people don't see themselves in that leadership. So I'm not suggesting that there is the answer, but when Takuta lays that out, you're like, okay, that's an interesting perspective, if nothing else.
Under 40. 500,000 of them are under 25. We have to appeal to that group and we have to capture that group's attention and teach them how to participate fully. Now, if you would ask me, is JT the right guy to lead that? No, not the right guy. Okay, the right guy looks and sounds like a Eru Kapakingi who can capture that cohort of our people and move them through how to participate well, show up, represent yourself well. And we know that if we capture them young enough and get them into this behavior early, voting, thinking about it, participating, they'll just continue on. So that's the drive we need. And so in that regard, no, I don't think JT is the guy for this job. I think there's a very smart cohort of young Māori out there who are tested, they're in the midst of their careers, they know how to do it. We have the skill, and that's what it needs.
There you go. That's the clip. Chewie, thoughts?
Yeah, like I 100% agree. Like I've said, very similar things, that the wave of politically savvy and social media savvy young Māori, they're coming through, rejecting the old ways of just doing things, that know the power of protest, know the power of self-marketing, essentially, and who have been, what was it called? The Kohanga Reo generation?
Growing up speaking from day one sort of thing, going through school and speaking to... And Orini's in that as well. Orini's a part of that. Hana's part of that.
That generation that's come through since the protesting movement of the the late 70s and 80s and that sort of thing. Like that's the world that they've existed in. And I think they can look upon something like this with a huge amount of disappointment and go, hey, look, we marched for this, we pulled for this. And you guys have fucked it. It's a crossroads here, where you're either going to disappoint them forever or you're going to pivot and let them push. Yeah, I 100% agree with what Ferris is saying there.
There's still comments I can see going through the chat about hard to take Takuta seriously since that late night Instagram post, and we've got time, so we'll play that at the end. There's one more clip I was going to play, but then we'll go back and play that one as well. And this last clip, actually, there's emotion here as well, because the conversation is around a couple of things. The first one is he kind of throws shade at the organisation of Te Pāti Māori, and the question he asks is, how many planning meetings has Te Pāti Māori had in 2025? And he himself answers that by saying 0. So he's throwing some shade at the organisation, but he also then talks around the behaviour that was at Takuta Tash Kemp's funeral and at the tangi. And I don't know if he uses the word offended, but made him pretty angry and pretty mad. And again, in a very, very clumsy way, when earlier I was trying to explain how Māori politics is different, not being a part of it, not fully understanding it, when you hear the way things are supposed to happen, and if it's not done correctly, then that's a mark on the soul, and then that gets intertwined into politics. It's different. It's different. That's all I can say. All I can think of saying. Okay, so let's get into this second to last clip now, and then we'll show that one about the Instagram post.
Real plan. If you ask me how many planning meetings the Māori Party has had in 2025, easy answer, none. None. Not a single one. This is what you're sort of dealing with, right? So our Takuta is under this immense pressure. She's getting no support. And this all sort of leads us to the time where Raori and Debbie are suspended. So we're doing the 21 days in the house.
This is the haka.
Yeah, suspended for the haka, right? And so it ends up just us in the house. Me, Hana, Takutai, Beno. And we're just doing all the housework. Now, Raori and Debbie didn't have to not be at the house. They were only suspended from the chamber. So they could have still come to the house and done the work. They opted to stay out. I don't know why you would do that as the leader. But anyway, that's what happened. And in that time where it was just us four in there, we began working in a manner that was easy. It was easy, it was efficient, it got stuff done. And across those couple of weeks, we had a few hui. And at that last week, we four had agreed that an intervention was required. And we worked out how to do it after they came back. Now, the tragic thing was that Takuta died that week. And then what happened during that tangihanga is some of the most despicable stuff I've encountered. And if anyone wants to challenge me on it, I'm good to go.
What happened?
Poor behaviour. Poor behaviour. I'll tell you this much, because Whanari is happy, has shared it openly with me and others. Her, Whanari, Takutai's mum, and Matua Karaka, her father, were driving to Auckland to pick their girl up and take her home. They heard on the radio that their girl was going to Hoani Waititi. And then the rest of that story is a debacle of immense proportion. And I'm happy for that whānau to talk about it. And I know there's sensitivities around it and all of that. But in my time dealing with tangi, and I had to deal with our Uncle Piri's tangi, probably the biggest tangi Ngāti Kaunganu's ever had to deal with, I've never come across anything like that.
That is the end of that clip. Now, again, not really understanding the protocols and practices completely around it. It sounds like what he's saying, correct me in the chat if you're wrong, is that, tradition would have Takutai would be going to her home marae or back with family, and there was an intervention and went elsewhere. Someone just says in this point here, and then got sent the bill. He does talk in this interview about the family having a big bill to pay as well, and Mihingarangi was like, "What do you mean bill?" And so there's something to do with that as well. Again, I don't want to kind of put more shade. We don't have the full thing, but that's part of this conversation. And if you want to check it out, go and check it out. Chewie, you can see the emotion in Takuta's face in that.
That seemed very real.
And obviously, I'm going to say it for a third time, it's just different. I mean, if a European in the Labour Party passes away and they go and have a funeral, and it's different. And the different way Māori handle life and do life is also the different way they do politics. And so there's an element of this I just can't understand. I can't understand, and I'm happy to sit back and be educated. We're just giving you what's been said today. We'll go back and play that one about the Instagram post as well, because people are talking about it. But before we do that, Chewie, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, look, as I said, that seemed very, very real. Real emotion, real hurt, real anger. I'm not saying Ferris gets it wrong. Gets it right all the time. I don't think there's anybody that really does. But I think this interview has really shown how much emotion is involved in this, and maybe again that's another reason why it's potentially so messy. But somebody, maybe multiple people, need to have a real good fucking look. Someone's gonna have to swallow something not very tasty to get this party back together. And the longer this goes on, and the more of this stuff that gets dredged up, the less I think it's going to happen.
Yeah. And look, Lurchy's just put in the chat, Pat, you called it 100% correct. These allegations need verification and balance. Just so you know, and this is not about this particular issue, in general, we don't care about balance. We care about accuracy. But in saying that, I agree in this instance, and I will be approaching... I'll message Debbie tomorrow, because we do want to hear from that side, because like I said, we're still sitting on the outside looking in. Don't take this, for at least my part, being like this is 100% the truth and this is the answer now. This is the interview that came out today that we're looking at. We will make a space for the other guys to come on. I suspect they won't. I suspect they won't want to talk to it. Because that seems to have been the path they've pretty much taken, bar one conversation so far. But the offer will be there, and we have an open door policy with many people. Debbie and Rawari are two of those people, and they know that as well. They cited us as one of the trusted places they like to talk to in a media interview not that long ago. So the offer will be made, and it would be good to hear their perspective as well, especially with that clarification around that October 9th hui. Ceasefire, yes, 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 yes. I'm going to get utu. If that's the case, that's a... Because what you have to do in that instance, if that's happened, you have to humble yourself and admit that you're wrong. And most people seem to be saying that's not something that they necessarily think comes naturally to JT. Because if that's accurate, then he'd have to be the one to humble himself. I'll say that for a third time, if that's accurate. Right, let's get to this last clip. I didn't have this set up to do, but we will because people are talking about it. And I'm not playing this now to defend Takuta, but people are saying they can't take him seriously, a few people, because of the infamous Instagram post. So we'll just give him an opportunity to speak to it because he was asked about it, and then you'll at least have the information to make your own mind up if it changes anything. May do, may not, up to you.
There have been faults on both sides, and you've caused a bit of controversy yourself in the beginning there. I wonder if I should ask you that question then. Is there a place for tangata tiriti and Te Pāti Māori?
Of course.
Do you think you got your words wrong?
Well, I think the fullness of that post was left out. All that was put forward to the media was the image, not the caption. So if
I don't know if that's accurate, being fair.
Yeah, I don't
I get the sense that the caption was put out there as well. I wasn't going to play this clip, so I haven't fact checked it, but I get the sense the caption was put out pretty clearly, unless what he's saying is not the entirety of the caption. But I'm pretty sure that the caption was. Maybe you can Google that, Chewie, while we're doing it. If you just Google Takuta Ferris Instagram, it'll pop up, and we can have a look at the end of this clip.
had to broadcast the caption, everyone would have understood that the image and what it was saying was a challenge to the Labour Party.
But there is a place for Pākehā, for Samoans and Asians and all the rest of them to work with Te Pāti Māori in the seats, campaigning and all those kinds of things.
Well, ko te wāhi ki te tangata tiriti, me te wāhi ki te tangata whenua, I roto I te tiriti o Waitangi. Everyone who's happy with that, participation, inclusion, involvement is fine. So when those three things are misrepresented and used to actually diminish the tangata whenua right, then that's not right. And I'm happy to call that out. And I know that the media storm that got kicked up, that was a media storm without all of the facts. And I said to the media after that, I'll be happy to come and talk to you at some time to flesh that debate out, if you like. The majority of our whānau and the majority of the motu are easily distracted in that debate because you can just quickly have your attention taken away, by a racially driven idea or a racially driven image presented in a particular way. But the debate is the debate. It's about the rights of tangata whenua in Te Tiriti o Waitangi and the rights of tangata tiriti in Te Tiriti o Waitangi. Now, one of the places they managed to diffuse these two things is by hiding Māori in amongst multicultural New Zealand. So let's be clear that the country is a bicultural country. Okay, our society is a multicultural society, but the rights that underpin the bicultural country don't change.
Marama au ki tira, whakaaro. And as you say, that politics, in the media it can get away on you, but that is politics. And I wonder if you were to do it all again, would you do it differently?
Well, yeah, probably.
Is that the learning, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. There's learnings in there.
So as someone just said in the chat, I saw it fly by, he had a chance to apologise and he didn't, although at the end he did acknowledge obviously that maybe it wasn't the best way to do it. I just want to address this one thing as well, the bicultural country and a multicultural society. The way I've always heard it and understood it, and Chewie, you tell me if you think this is the same, I've always understood the way we describe it as a multicultural country based on a bicultural agreement. It might be the same thing said in a different way. And I'm not trying to pick hairs here, but we are a multicultural country, but it was started and founded on a bicultural agreement. Now, whether we're saying the same thing or not, I don't know, but That's the way I've heard it described before, and the way I think I do it.
That's my understanding, right?
But he's basically saying we're a bicultural country and a multicultural society. It's probably the same thing. We're probably saying the same thing, but just putting it out there.
Yeah, it doesn't sit well with me. But like we talked about this when Seymour was kicking off about an agreement between races. It is not an agreement between races. It is an agreement between the Crown and Māori.
The Crown and the landowners who happen to be Māori. So it's not based like it's
another way to do it.
Well, it's Māori because Māori were here. So in other words, the agreement is with the people here who were of a race, but that doesn't mean the agreement is based on race. It's based on the people who are here.
I mean, it does a massive disservice to people that have come from other places to say that this is a Māori and European thing. It is Māori and everybody else. There's a recognition of the first peoples of this country. So I think you do have, everybody needs to be more careful about how they talk about this. Seymour and Ferris. Now, there's an order of magnitude difference between how those two people are saying this, but this is one of the things that actors quite happy to stick a wedge in our society and turn around to more recent immigrants from India and China and that sort of thing and going, do you think this is fair? You've been here 3 months. Do you understand the nuance of the Treaty of Waitangi? No, vote for us, please. So they need to get it right. Personally, I took his comments, the original comments that set them all off, as incredibly clumsy.
Do we want to do it because there's chat going on? Do we want to bring them up just to make sure we're all saying the same thing? Do you want me to Google them and bring them up, or have you done it?
I haven't had a lot of luck bringing up the original comment. I'm actually not sure if it's on his Instagram, but I have found a screenshot of it on an RNZ story, which I've got there.
Here we go. I think I've got it here. Just to see that we're picking on, that we're making sure that we've got the same thing. Blows my mind. Indians, Asians, Black and Pākehā campaigning to take Māori seat from Māori. This hasn't given me a full screen. There's some interesting chat going on, right? Let me just put a couple of them up because the Autist's Way says he's getting academic. And yeah, I understand that as well, because Teresa is saying Takuta is meaning the whole understanding of what he said. It was a challenge to the Labour Party. Why can't you accept that, for fuck's sake? Teresa also says it's shocking how you two sit here and criticise Takuta. I think Teresa might be watching a different show at the moment. You manipulate everything he is saying. He has repeated it himself so many times. Sure. I mean, to be honest with you, I think Takuta has done a superb job here, verbalising what he's thinking. I'm not. I think that's someone who maybe is not watching the same show that we're doing. Foki, Pat Mini, so Takuta is telling the truth. Yeah, and there was a lot of conversation around those Instagram comments, and I wonder if it is one of those things, and not to necessarily defend those comments either, but one of those things that, when we're in a mindset where we're the expert and we can say some things in a clumsy, easy way. Like sometimes I say to someone, I don't care. That could be read as you don't give a fuck, but what it normally means is, for me, it normally means I don't have an opinion on this. Any outcome is okay. And I wonder if, as Takuta kind of said at the end there, he might do it differently, meaning he might word it differently, because the word he's using were clear for many people, especially within Māoridom, but not for outside Māoridom. And then I guess you have to understand the question, does that matter? Does that matter that people outside Māoridom didn't understand it as well? Well, it wasn't as clear what he was trying to say or what he was getting at with the words he used.
Yeah. And look, just to clarify a little bit, when I say that it was ill considered, clumsy and that sort of thing, I'm also saying that from the point of view of how can someone weaponize what you've said against you. And he made that incredibly easy. He didn't like black hat his own comment, and sometimes you have to do this. How is ACT going to react if I tweet this out right now? You know, how are they going to use this post? Well, you know, we saw how they used it. So, yeah, that's what I mean by it was kind of dumb and ill-considered. Like, I was quite vocal in the fact that watching Ferris's defense or attack against the RSB and the select committees and that sort of thing, he is very, very impressive in that setting. He asked some great questions, some great criticisms of the bill and that sort of thing. He's really, really can be very effective. And this is one of the things. This whole thing with Te Pāti Māori blowing apart is denying us that. Him going and making that, in my opinion, ill-considered Facebook post, that became the story rather than how effective he can be.
Yeah. I mean, I think also, don't we also think though that, let's say he got it completely wrong. Let's say that all the people who were saying he got it wrong, it was bad, it was this, it was that, it was all that. Let's take it if that was the case. So that means the reality is he ballsed up once. Does that mean he gets thrown under the bus from here on in? Does that mean he made a mistake and we move on?
Well, he's a Māori politician. So looking at history, yes. Right? There's a pile on and then we drive someone out because they're different from the status quo. And that's shit. And that means we get a shitty democracy.
And look, I think Laura says it here because I think Laura, actually I won't say that. I was going to say I thought I saw some of Laura's messages earlier. And I don't want to, okay, no, Laura did say he had a dickhead post. Okay. Because Laura can also acknowledge that and go, he's done good work. The post wasn't one of them.
Yeah, 100%.
That seems to be a pretty fair and balanced. Just like Fox News, us, fair and balanced.
I mean, here's another example. Remember when Marama got clipped by that bike and then ambushed journalism and she said, I know who causes violence, it's cis white men.
Yep.
You know, paraphrasing. But that still, you look at comments about anything about Marama, I guarantee that will come up again. I'll never vote for Green because Marama said this. Now, I doubt, internet commentator, that you would ever vote for Green, personally. But that is those sort of comments made in the heat of the moment or in a particular situation. Like, as a cis white man, I had no problem with what she was saying there because I got the point.
Yeah.
You know, but people would still take that and go, I'm never going to forget that, and I'm going to bring it up every time as a stain against this person's character, their existence, the fact that they're a politician and they said the thing that I didn't like.
And look, here's the other thing, right? You are always going to say something that pisses off a group of people. You are always going to say something that pisses off a group of people that another group of people grab onto as gospel truth. Because there are people who hear what Marama said that come back and say, that's why I love the Greens. She spoke the truth. So the other thing, and me and Chewie have experienced this a bit, when, you know, the left decided to throw us out of their team a long time ago and we had to kind of forge our own path, is I'm not a big fan of, especially in a country where that voice, that Indigenous voice, is so very important, to throw someone out of the boat, the waka, for, as someone said earlier, what some are describing as a dickhead post. When there's still lots, like if you at the end of this term put up the good stuff that this person did and the dickhead stuff, you know, if the dickhead stuff is much, much smaller list than the really good stuff, I think we judge them on balance of probability and on the balance of the good stuff, not the one bad thing. And you're right, Chewie. I actually heard someone the other day, I don't know, I was probably watching some horrific online thing, bring up the violent cis white men comment. You know, whatever it is, 2.5 years later, 3 years later.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that will stick around. And I guess when people have said that was a dickhead post, or when people aren't the other thing that Takuta has done is that will be a part of his introduction or part of his legacy to many people, and it is what it is. And to other people, it'll be a part of his legacy in a good way. It'll be a part of his, we agree with you. I think that what I'm always going to hopefully try and do is judge people on their body of work rather than one incident. And we've asked you guys that of us, because we will say things from time to time that you hate. It will happen. I, probably more than Chewie's smarter than me, will say something that you guys think you are completely wrong. That is a bad position to take. What we say is judge us on the body of our work. If you've been watching us for 3 years and you've liked it all, then we have one clanger of a night you don't like. Judge us on our body of work, because there's no 100% correct person. We are failed people. We fall short and we will get things wrong. And so what I will try and do is, you're like Pat on Twitter. Yeah, I see you in there. What I will try and do is judge people on their body of work rather than the singular incident that I might disagree with. If you have 100 amazing outcomes and one shocker, I'll say, well, that's 100 to 1. 99% of the time you got it right. Not the one time you're out of the team now. I think that's a really dangerous position.
Hey, there is a clarification I want to highlight, because StreamYard's being a dick and I can't grab the comment.
Oh, sorry, dude.
It's gone now, but I'm going to paraphrase. There is a point that we're missing here with the discussion of the Māori role, and I actually hadn't considered this, so this is why I'm mentioning it to people.
Let me guess. Overhang?
No.
Ah.
The only people that can be today, there it is. I found it. Today, only people of Māori descent can choose to be on the Māori roll and vote in Māori seats, but candidates don't have to be Māori. So non-Māori can stand in those seats. I wasn't aware of that. That sounds a little bit fucked.
Really?
That's what the comment says.
No, but I mean, you find it fucked that non-Māori can be in a Māori seat. Because if non-Māori is in a Māori seat, good luck getting voted in. I mean, what I was going to say about the overhang, here's another thing, just to wrap this all up before we head off for the night. If Te Pāti Māori implode and go, whatever, and like what I've said before is there is a very real chance what could happen should Te Pāti Māori implode, and should it be 2 or 3 people left, is that what happens is they're then competing against a new Māori-based party or independents that split the vote, and Labour come through the middle, because a third of the people, or 20% of people, or 30% of people are now voting for the independent, 20 or 30% of people are voting for Te Pāti Māori, and then at 40% Labour comes up the middle and takes the seats. If that was to happen, then we lose the overhang. If we lose the overhang, it's easier for the right to win. This is how it could impact the left in general. The reason we have an overhang is because Te Pāti Māori win more seats than they get party vote. And that's how you get an overhang. So there's another part of this bigger picture, looking at it, that we could end up, that this could end up damaging the left's chances to form a government should there be no more overhang, and there's much less likely to be overhang if Labour wins the seats. Something to think about.